Mrs. Snow? The arbiters to anchor in the stream, and her flags to half-mast. And knowing that, maybe there's no need to say anything more." Mrs. Snow said nothing. Mary Snow said nothing. But I remember how, from under John Snow's brows, the deep eyes glowed out. "Go on," said John Snow at last. Hugh Glynn went on. "Well, he was a good boy, your Arthur. Maybe you'd like to be told that. Even by me, though, of course, you that was his father, John Snow, and you that was his mother, Mrs. Snow, know better than anybody else what he was. 3 nights ago it was, and we to the south'ard of Sable Island in as nasty a breeze as I'd been in for some time. A living gale it was, a November nor'wester. You know what that is, John Snow. But I'd all night been telling the crew to be careful, for a sea there was to sweep to eternity whoever it could have caught loose around deck. I could have hove her to and let her lay, but I was never one to heave to my vessel. Not once I'd swung her off for home. And there, God help me, is maybe my weakness. She was under her gaff topsail, but I see she couldn't stand it. 'Boys,' says I, 'clew up that topsail,' which they did, and put it in gaskets, and your Arthur, I mind, was one of the 4 men to go aloft to clew it up. Never a lad to shirk was Arthur. Well, a stouter craft of her tonnage than the Arbiter may never lived, nor no gear any sounder, but there are things o' God's that the things o' man were never meant to hold out against. Her jib flew to ribbons. 'Cut it clear,' I says, and nigh half the crew jumped for'ard. Half a dozen of the crew to once, but Arthur, your boy, Mrs. Snow, your son, John Snow, he was quick enough to be among the half-dozen. Among a smart crew he was never left behind. It looked safe for us all then, coming on to morning, but who can ever tell? Fishermen's lives, they're expected to go fast, but they're men's lives for all that. And 'have a care,' I called to them, myself to the wheel at the time, where, God knows, I was careful. Well, I saw this big fellow coming, a mountain of water with a snow-white top to it against the first light of the morning, and I made to meet it. A better vessel than the Arbiter the hand of man never turned out, all Gloucester knows that, but her best and my best, there was no lifting her out of it. Like great pipe organs a roaring this sea came, and over we went. Over we went, and I heard myself saying, 'God in heaven, you great old wagon, but are you gone at last?' And said it again, when maybe there was a fathom of water over my head. Her quarter was buried that deep, and she that long coming up. Slow coming up she was, though up she came at last. But a man was gone." He had stopped, but he went on. "It was Arthur, John Snow, and you, Mrs. Snow, who was gone. The boy you were expecting to see in this very room by now, he was gone. Little Arthur, that 10 years ago, when I first saw him, I could have swung to the ceiling of this room with my one finger. Little Arthur was gone. Well, 'over with a dory,' I said. And gale and all, we over with a dory, with 3 of us in it. We looked and looked in that terrible dawn, but no use. No man short of the Son of God himself could have stayed afloat, oilskins and red jacks, in that sea. But we had to look, and coming aboard the dory was stove in, smashed, like it was a china teacup, and not a new banker's double dory, against the rail. And it was cold,